At this time, I would like to invite an amazing young woman, a trailblazer. This young lady just hit the ground running, and it's amazing to witness the growth in so few years from her graduating from Chamko to being the reason we're all here together. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a big hand for the amazing Nthanda Manduwi.
Our host, His Excellency Ambassador Ernest Ginbach, Honorable Minister of Tourism, Vera Kantakule, and all members of the Malawi government present, the Resident Coordinator of the United Nations, Becky, and all representatives of the UN, all protocols observed, members of diplomatic and development communities, creatives, innovators, guests, good evening. Allow me to tell you a story tonight, a story of a young Malawian woman. So it's 2016 and she is graduating from the University of Malawi, Chancellor College in Zomba. She calls her mother and tells her, "I'm a creative, I don't want to come back home. I have heard that Lilongwe City is where it's happening. It's where there is the creative sector in Malawi." So she moves from Zomba to Lilongwe and she gets here. And she's writing her first book at the time, By the End of Your Teens. She doesn't yet have a job, so she's making a living through blogging, creating content about tourism in Malawi, sharing the very beautiful country that I'm sure we all have grown to love, Malawi. At the time she meets Q, Malawi, who is a notable creative in Malawi. I believe you've all seen him. He's an incredible poet, and she says, "I want to be a writer." And Q says, "Sure, I love your writing, I can mentor you." She's amenable to his criticism, and she starts growing. Now, as a young creative and at the time a trained economist, a trained social scientist, her biggest challenge is, how do I bridge these two passions? My passion for creativity, but also being a researcher, being a development practitioner. So she talks to a friend, and the friend says, if you want to be in the development community, first thing you should do is attend conferences, events like this tonight. She goes to one event, and while she's at the event, somebody speaks up and says, the youth are lazy, they don't want to do anything. And she waits it out until the event is close to an end, and then she goes to the mic. And she says, there are young people here, and they do want to do the work, but they're not given the opportunities to showcase their talents, to showcase their skills. At the end of the event, she runs into the UN Women Country Representative, who asks her to send in her CV, and she is offered an internship. And there begins her journey in international relations. She leaves eventually UN Women, joins the Malawi government as a public officer, works for a couple of years, but she still feels something is missing, because working as a revenue officer is okay, but there is no creativity here. I collect taxes, I give them to the government, and then what? So she continues to explore her creativity and trying to do this and that. Eventually, she brings together a couple of creatives and says, we're going to do something about the creative industry in Malawi, in Lilongwe. We have no industry, we're going to build one from scratch. So she meets a couple of friends and they build things, and eventually they start a non-profit to bring these creatives together. If you're still with me, I believe you by now can tell that this is my story. My name is Nthanda Manduwi. I'm a young Malawian lady, born and raised in Mangochi, recently resident in New York City, and now returning back to Malawi. In 2022, I was hired by the UNDP through the UNDP graduate program, and I relocated to New York City. I have been there for the past 2 years. Being there, one of the biggest questions that I get asked, one of the most challenging ones, is, what does Malawi innovate? What does Malawi export? Because in New York City, in Manhattan, there's a lot of young people making a lot of money, and they want to invest their money somewhere, and everybody says Africa is where you invest the money right now. So what's Malawi's story? So all my friends get to talk about their countries. Rwanda is doing amazing things in this, and Kenya is doing this. And we look back and say, where are we in Malawi? As of June last year, we celebrated 5 years of the Ntha Foundation. So Ntha Foundation was established in 2018, and we later incorporated as a non-profit organization in June of 2020. We have partnered with World Bank, the EU, through several projects, and now we have a current partner as the GIZ. We have trained over 1,000 people in digital, creative, entrepreneurial, and advocacy skills. There is a huge gap in transitioning young professionals from undergraduate, like I was when I graduated from the University of Malawi, into the world of work. Because when I moved here and I didn't have a job, my father said, "What's your plan?" So our goal is to stand in that gap. For that young person that's leaving university, for that young person that doesn't know what's next because there are no jobs, so you come and you sit around and you apply for jobs. So we have 2 innovation hubs. We set them up with help from the World Bank, one here in Lilongwe and one in Mangochi district. And we're serving young people and bringing them together. And we try to engage with diplomatic partners and government professionals like yourself. So when I took on the UN job, I was not allowed to represent my organization. I believe those who work in the UN understand the conflict of interest. So I had completely separate myself, and that was a wonderful thing because my team became independent, the organization grew beyond me, and out of that came what we call the Kwathu Kollective. So I would love, some of you may have heard of the incredible work that we've done. When we say we've trained 1,000 people, it wasn't me. I hardly stepped in a classroom, it took a lot of work. He's behind the camera so he can say it, see he can come up here, but the first person I approached when I wanted to start a business was Ben Sam. He's standing right in the middle with the camera on me. I walked into Ben Sam's studio and I said, "Ben, I want to do work in media." At the time, he was an accomplished videographer. I was nobody. I just had a dream. He sat with me and he listened to me and he said, "Okay, let's do it." I'll tell you this, it's been 7 years and there's never been a day that Ben has actually charged me money. We work together, we get some funding and we split. But that's the spirit of our collective, where we come and I give him something and he gives me something and we're able to build and co-create together. The next person I would like for him to join me on stage. You all got to see him. His name is Alex Kachepa. He's our host tonight. He's the closest thing I have to a co-founder. The most brilliant creative that I know. I believe those who know him know that. Every single initiative we have under the Kwathu Collective, including the Kwathu Collective itself, comes from his brain. Maybe people will say, "Oh, why are you so brilliant?" And I'm like, "Oh no, we have 2 hour phone calls and it's this guy." So this is the guy behind the magic. I'd also like to introduce to you Ms. Rhoda Kamwaza, the Managing Director, who has held the Ntha Foundation down in my absence. She's the most transparent woman that I know. She has managed close to $400,000, and if she has stolen a penny, we're yet to find out. Everything checks out. She's the woman behind the mission. I would also love to invite to the stage Priska Kamkwani. If we're having an event today, it's this lady. If you tell her today you want to buy a cow, she will tell you she will find it. She is the queen of logistics and she makes the magic happen. Another person I'd like to invite is Ms. Linda Mjawi. She has worked in several positions in the organization. She started out as a hub manager when we were establishing our hub in Mangochi. And she now works in monitoring and evaluations, again making sure our programs are very accountable. And another person who can't join me on stage is also standing next to Ben, Pride. Part of the work of development work, I believe you know, when we have development partners, they want to see that we did this work. That's why the cameras are here. So when we say we spent your money, we're not just writing the report, you get to see the videos and the photos. So Pride is also a huge part of my team. Our chief of operations is here. He was at school, he's doing his master's, so we weren't sure if he was joining us tonight. The master behind strategy, Mr. Victor Gondwe, who is also in charge of writing grant proposals. When we say we've raised $400,000, these are the people that are behind me. This is the Kwathu Collective, the team behind Ntha Foundation, the team trying to change the face of the creative and innovation industry in Malawi. And at the moment, we are training young students from the Malawi University of Science and Technology. So we have the MAWA apprenticeship program. Like I said, transitioning can be a bit hard. So we're trying to get them to transition into industry, whether that's as entrepreneurs or to start jobs, but just change a way of working in Malawi so they can work better and be better. May I please invite all the trainees to join me on stage. Yanko, Togo, Samuel, Matthews, Abby, Concern. Some of them were welcoming you. I believe you met them, so maybe they might be a bit distant. Yes, they're behind the event, so maybe they might not be able to join us on stage. This is the team that is behind the Kwathu Collective. And they're really incredible people. I want to say thank you to all our diplomatic partners. I'm only 28, and to be able to have a team as amazing as this is no mean achievement. I'm deeply grateful to the support of the World Bank. Oh, here's Concern and Matthews. I'm deeply grateful to the support of the World Bank, the EU, GIZ, for having supported us this far. We see about 15 people here on stage. My dream is to have 1,000, 100,000 of these people that we can train, because I've told you of the story of one woman, but imagine if we had 1,000 me's in Malawi, what the story of Malawi would be. So thank you so much, Ambassador Skinback, for your support. You house us, you open up your home. It's not a small thing to do, and to your wife to spare the time, 2 hours, that you can come into our home so we can connect. The biggest goal for this event, as creatives, we can get in our bubble. I think Q was the biggest factor for me. Most people don't believe it when I say I'm an introvert. They really don't believe it. Q would believe it, because I'm a bit loud, so people think I'm outgoing. I was always home in my house, and he says, you need to get out there and meet and network with people. People need to know about your work. And I eventually got out of my bubble and started networking. So when you're looking at the audience today, there is a huge chunk of the diplomatic and development sector, and there's also a huge chunk of the creative and innovative sector. We wanted to bridge the gap and bring you together, so they know what you do and what you can do for them. And you also get to know what they do and what they can do for you. So the goal of this event is to bridge that gap. Thank you so much for your attention.